Welcome back to TLDR's daily briefing for Friday the 7th of March 2025. In today's episode, we look ahead to next week's US-Ukraine talks. Trump reins in DOGE, and Canada prepares for a new Prime Minister. But first, an exciting announcement about an exclusive TLDR interview coming out next week. Yesterday, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer travelled up to Liverpool to discuss his plan to increase defence spending from 2.3% of GDP to 2.5% of GDP by 2027 with shipbuilders at Camel Verde. At the event, he took questions from workers, traditional media organisations and, for the first time, us. Speaking to the shipbuilders, the Prime Minister explained that the biggest sustained increase in defence spending since the Cold War must be translated not only into the capability we need on the front line, but also into the secure jobs in our economy. About this, he expressed the importance of the apprentices working there, stressing that they are serving their country well because they're building the capability which is used on the front line. Following this, our very own head of the TLDR UK channel, Ben Blissett, attended the event to ask Starmer questions about his decision on defence spending. But this wasn't just any interview. Earlier in the week, we actually sent out a survey asking you to send in questions that you'd like to ask the government. We filtered through them and selected a handful to ask the Prime Minister. We'd just like to take a moment to thank anyone that sent questions in, as we were blown away by the quality of the questions. Anyway, if you want to watch the interview, it will be premiering on the TLDR News UK channel on Monday morning at 11 a.m. You can click the link in the description or the show notes for this episode to be notified when it goes live. You're listening to TLDR's Daily Briefing. If you want more explainers on what's happening in the world, then you should check out TLDR's YouTube channels. Today, we released videos on why the US dollar is crashing, the incoming German Chancellor's plan to rearm Germany, and an episode of our UK politics podcast, Starmageddon. You can find those videos linked in the description or show notes for this episode, or by searching for TLDR on YouTube. Next week, Ukraine will begin negotiations with the US over ending the war, according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. After a defence summit with EU leaders in Brussels on Thursday, Zelensky wrote in a post on Telegram, "The war must be stopped as soon as possible, and Ukraine is ready to work 24/7 together with partners in America and Europe for peace." He also said, "Next week, on Monday, I am scheduled to visit Saudi Arabia to meet with the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman. After that, my team will remain in Saudi Arabia to work with American partners. Ukraine is most interested in peace." The scheduled talks come after a week of tense relations between the US and Ukraine, following a disastrous meeting between Zelensky and Trump last Friday that led to a public argument, the cancellation of a press conference, and the Ukrainian delegation reportedly being asked to leave the White House. Next week, the US-Ukraine talks will be focused on Trump's Ukraine minerals deal, as well as a possible ceasefire. US President Donald Trump has moved to rein in the US Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, led by billionaire Elon Musk, following weeks of wide-ranging cuts to the federal budget and mass layoffs. In a meeting at the White House on Thursday, Trump implied that DOGE may have been too heavy-handed in its mass layoffs of federal employees. After the meeting ended, Trump posted on Truth Social, "It's very important that we cut levels down to where they should be, but it's also important to keep the best and most productive people. We're going to have these meetings every 2 weeks until that aspect of this very necessary job is done." He also said to White House reporters, "I don't want to see a big cut where a lot of good people are cut. Keep all the people you want, everybody that you need." Finally, we'll also be looking ahead this weekend to the election of a new Canadian Prime Minister. This Sunday, the Liberal Party of Canada will elect its new leader, who, because the Liberals hold the most seats in Parliament, will automatically become the Prime Minister. It follows the resignation of Liberal Party leader Justin Trudeau in January this year, amid plummeting approval ratings. Trudeau, who has been Canada's Prime Minister for 9 years, is stepping down to make way for a new leader of the Liberals to lead the party into the next Canadian federal election later this year. We'll be sure to bring you an update on the leadership election next week, so make sure you're following TLDR's daily briefing for that. That's everything for today. We'll be back with you next week, so make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen. In the meantime, you can check out the latest episode of our UK politics podcast, Starmageddon, in which Ben and I discuss UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer's efforts to bridge the US-EU divide. You can find the link in the podcast description. This was a TLDR News production hosted by Georgina Findlay, written by Ben Blissett and Georgina Findlay, and produced by Scarlett Watchorn. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back again on Monday.